Well, tonight the GBI is labeling the death of Atlanta rapper Young Scooter as an in-custody death. His real name is Kenneth Edward Bailey.
We're following breaking news right now in the city of Atlanta, where just minutes ago, Atlanta police held a news conference about the death of a 39-year-old man, Kenneth Bailey, also known as rapper Young Scooter.
When officers located him on the other side of the fence, he appeared to have suffered an injury to his leg. There was no indication of anyone being shot.
Could the cops be bending the truth again with Young Scooter's death? Not too long ago, word spread across Atlanta that rapper Kenneth Bailey, better known as Young Scooter, had passed away on his 39th birthday. Reports say there was some kind of confrontation between him and the police, which led to him trying to escape.
Officers responded to a dispute with a weapon. It was advised in the call remarks that shots were fired and a female was dragged back into the location.
According to sources, officers responded to a house in the southeast part of the city after getting reports of gunfire and a woman being dragged back inside as she tried to run. When they got there, a man opened the door but quickly slammed it shut in their faces. Meanwhile, two men bolted out the back as cops started securing the area. One of the men ran back inside the house, and the other jumped two fences while fleeing. When officers caught up with him on the other side, he seemed to have injured his leg. Atlanta Police Department Lieutenant Andrew Smith said in a press conference Friday night,
When officers located him on the other side of the fence, he appeared to have suffered an injury to his leg. There was no indication of anyone being shot.
One returned to that house. The other one, who was Young Scooter, again jumped two fences, and during that run over those fences, he fell, and what we heard originally was fractured or broke his femur.
Bailey was later taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. The Atlanta Medical Examiner's Office hasn't confirmed the cause of death yet, according to 11 Alive. Interestingly, an orthopedic doctor weighed in, saying it's pretty rare for someone to die from this type of injury. It'd have to be a very hard fall, something you don't often see, he said.
Well, the femoral artery is quite large, and it could, if you broke your femur and it broke badly enough, the ends of the femur fracture could be sharp enough to cut the artery. No, you don't. It's a relatively rare injury to have a femoral artery death. It's only about 10 to 15% of traumas, so it's not very high.
However, Lieutenant Smith, who didn't mention Bailey by name, made it clear that the police weren't the ones who caused the fatal injury. Just to be very clear, the injury that was sustained was not via the officers on scene. It was when the male was fleeing, he stated. Now, people are talking, especially since the police haven't released any body cam footage to back up their claims. And let's be real, this wouldn't be the first time authorities tried to sweep a situation under the rug. Take LAQUAN McDonald's case in 2014, for example. He was a 17-year-old boy shot and killed by a Chicago police officer, Jason Van Dyke.
Police officer Jason Van Dyke has turned himself in this morning. He is now charged with first-degree murder for allegedly shooting a teen 16 times.
At first, the police claimed McDonald was acting aggressively and lunged at officers with a knife, making the shooting seem justified. But over a year later, dash cam footage surfaced, showing McDonald was actually walking away when Van Dyke shot him 16 times. That video had been withheld from the public for over a year, sparking outrage.
16 shots! 16 shots! Why, they wanted to know, was a black teenager shot.
Eventually, Van Dyke was charged with first-degree murder. Van Dyke was released on bail on November 30th, and by April 2015, the city had reached a $5 million settlement with McDonald's family. Fast forward to October 5th, 2018, and Van Dyke was found guilty, not just of second-degree murder, but also 16 counts of aggravated battery with a firearm. He was sentenced in January 2019, but was out by February 2022.
Alan and Cheryl Van Dyke is scheduled to be released on February 3rd after serving a little less than 3 years and 4 months behind bars. And based on the terms of his parole, he is expected to return to the Chicago area.
McDonald's case wasn't the only one, though. There was also Jordan Edwards. On April 29, 2017, 15-year-old Jordan Edwards was shot and killed by police officer Roy Oliver in Balch Springs, Texas.
A police officer there turning himself in, charged with murdering a 15-year-old while on duty. The officer allegedly fired his rifle at a car full of teenagers, killing this honor student.
Jordan was unarmed, sitting in the front passenger seat of a car driving away from officers when Oliver fired 3 rounds from a high-powered rifle, hitting Jordan in the back of the head. The whole thing started when police responded to a 911 call about underage drinking at a party. When they got there, they reportedly heard gunshots, which sent people running in every direction. Oliver, for whatever reason, decided to fire into a moving car carrying Jordan, his brothers, and 2 friends. Jordan was rushed to the hospital but didn't make it. His 16-year-old brother, who was driving, was held in police custody overnight for questioning. At first, the police tried to justify the shooting by claiming the car was aggressively backing towards officers. But when body cam footage was reviewed, the police chief had to backtrack, admitting the car was actually driving away, not towards them. He even said, "I misspoke," just another way of saying, "We got caught." Despite efforts to sweep things under the rug, Oliver couldn't escape the consequences. He was fired from the police force after 6 years on the job, but it took a national outcry to make that happen. Then there was Rayshard Brooks. In 2020, police were called to a Wendy's drive-thru after Brooks was found asleep in his car. When officers arrived, he explained he wasn't feeling well and admitted he had been drinking earlier that evening.
So you're parked in the drive-thru line. You're blocking traffic here. How much did you drink tonight? Not much? How much is not much?
He even told the officers, "I know you're just doing your job." The cops talked to him for over 30 minutes, gave him a sobriety test, and then asked if he'd be willing to take a breathalyzer. He agreed, and from there, things took a turn. After failing the test, body cam footage shows Brooks trying to pull away as an officer attempts to handcuff him. And in a matter of seconds, everything spirals out of control. Brooks makes a run for it, and just like that, 3 gunshots ring out. That was it.
Drops his taser, grabs his gun, and fires 3 shots as Brooks runs away from him. Wolf runs over to Brooks, who is lying on the floor. Both officers stand over him. Brooks's arm is still moving.
And then there was Walter Scott. Back in 2015, he was pulled over by a cop. Just a routine traffic stop at first. The officer ran his checks, walked back to his patrol car, and for some reason, Walter decided to take off running. That's when Officer Michael Slager pulled out his gun and shot him in the back. No hesitation. The official story claimed Walter tried to grab the officer's weapon, and just to make sure the narrative stuck, they even planted a taser near his body. But thankfully, there was video evidence that exposed the truth, and Slager was later convicted.
Michael Slager was sentenced to 20 years in prison after he pleaded guilty to violating Walter Scott's civil rights.
Next, Marcellis Stinnette in 2020. It started as a traffic stop in Illinois. Reports said police suspected he had gang ties, and when they felt threatened, they opened fire. But video footage showed something different. An officer shooting into a car that was backing away.
Take a look at what happened next. Here's ABC's Alex Perez.
Walk straight back, Earl. Spin this dog on you.
The aftermath were protests, public outrage, and yet another false police statement exposed. And of course, Breonna Taylor. Breonna, a 26-year-old medical worker, was asleep in her home on March 13, 2020 when officers from the Louisville Metro Police Department barged in. Her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, thinking they were intruders, fired a warning shot that hit an officer.
I don't know what's happening. Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend.
In response, the cops unloaded their weapons. Brett Hankison, Miles Cosgrove, and Jonathan Mattingly fired multiple rounds, with Cosgrove firing the fatal shot. None of Hankison's shots even hit anyone. What made this case even worse was that there was no real accountability. The officers weren't initially charged, which led to massive protests under the Say Her Name movement, alongside Black Lives Matter demonstrations. Later, some jurors even accused Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron of covering up what really happened. In 2022, Kelly Goodlett admitted to falsifying documents to obtain the search warrant, and in 2024, Hankison was finally convicted of violating Breonna's civil rights by using excessive force. Then there was Tyre Nichols. Police claimed they pulled him over for reckless driving, but body cam footage later showed that was a lie. Nichols tried to run, and what followed was brutal. Officers caught him and beat him to death. The fallout was so bad that the entire unit responsible for his death was shut down for their history of violent policing. For years, cases like these have sparked protests, fueled debates, and exposed cracks in the justice system. Yet the same stories keep repeating, just with different names. Now, with young Scooter's name added to the list, it's only a matter of time before the truth comes out. So who was young Scooter? Born Kenneth Bailey on March 28, 1986, he was more than just a rapper. His story, however, didn't start in Atlanta. Young Scooter was actually born in Walterboro, South Carolina, but when he was just 9 years old, his family relocated to the Kirkwood community of Atlanta, a neighborhood also known as Little Mexico. That move would prove to be life-changing, shaping both his upbringing and his music. Like many who came up in the streets, Scooter's journey wasn't without its setbacks. He was a key figure in Atlanta's hip-hop scene, known for his raw, street-driven sound and deep industry connections. A close friend of Future, he signed with Free Bands in 2012 and later joined Waka Flocka's Brick Squad monopoly under Gucci Mane's 1017 Records. His breakout mixtape Street Lottery and hit song Columbia put him on the map, with remixes featuring Birdman, Rick Ross, and Gucci Mane. Scooter wasn't just making music, he was shaping a movement.
Snitching that for no reason. All year round.
That project wasn't just another underground release. It made waves nationally, and its lead single Columbia became an anthem. And it didn't stop there. By 2018, young Scooter was still making his mark, landing a guest feature on a track with Future and Juice WRLD, a collaboration that gave him his first ever entry on the Billboard Hot 100. He had been rapping for years, but this moment made it clear. His impact wasn't just felt in Atlanta, it was reaching far beyond. He even referred to himself as the J King in his lyrics, a nod to his street-savvy reputation, and some fans even went as far as to call him the real Atlanta, a testament to how deeply rooted he was in the city's culture. But despite all the success, young Scooter wasn't the type to chase the spotlight forever. As time went on, he took a step back from rapping full-time, choosing instead to focus on being a father and helping scout new talent. He had already left his mark, and now he was looking at the bigger picture. In 2018, he found himself facing drug trafficking charges, and that moment became a turning point for him. He decided to step away from actively pursuing a rap career, opting instead to focus on staying out of trouble. This wasn't the first time the law had caught up with him. Back in April 2013, he had been arrested for a probation violation during a traffic stop in DeKalb County, Georgia. Coincidentally, around the same time, Gucci Mane, one of his closest collaborators, was also arrested for a similar violation, and the two ended up sharing a jail cell. Scooter spent 6 months behind bars before finally being released in mid-October 2013, and by March 2, 2015, he was officially off probation. That could have been the end of his story, but instead it became the beginning of something bigger. He came back stronger, determined to make the most of his second chance. And if you ever want to get a deeper look into his mindset, just check out his interview with Vlad TV, where he opened up about losing over 20 friends to the streets.
That's a lot, like more than 20. Just a lot, man.
That conversation, that one segment in an hour-long interview, says everything you need to know about the life he lived, the world he came from, and the battles he fought. Now, with his name in the headlines once again, but for all the wrong reasons, it's hard not to wonder, is this just another case that will get swept under the rug? Or will the full truth finally come out? Will young Scooter be yet another movement towards ending police brutality that has been sprawling in recent years? Let's keep our fingers crossed.